So I just finished part 2 of season 1 of Sakamoto Days. And the fact that it took me this long to come back and finish off that second half of this first season, it speaks to the quality of the anime. Now, I do know at one point Netflix was out here promoting Sakamoto Days, and it made this announcement that Sakamoto Days was the most viewed anime via Netflix. The implication there being, if people are watching it for longer and it's logging more watch hours, then it must be better than all these other available animes on Netflix. I don't even feel like I'm going out on a limb when I say that is categorically, undeniably false. Now that I sound like a hater, let me clarify. I do think that Sakamoto Days is very, very good. But I also will say in the same breath that season 1, part 1, set the tone for me not really rushing back to watch season 1, part 2. This thing was broken up into 2 11-episode halves. And that first half did so much introducing of new characters that it did not feel like every episode was very, very consequential for the story. And in part 2, you get more of that, but it does feel like the overall narrative is much tighter in the second half of season 1 than in the first. I think that introduction to new characters is what brings this show down quite a few notches, in my opinion. Again, I like the fact that there's action. I like the fact that there's a touch of wholesomeness. I actually enjoy most of the action scenes, even though in the first half they're very sparsely sprinkled out. And in the second half, you get lots and lots of action. But the problem is that every episode you're meeting someone new, and we don't know if these new people are going to be consequential to the overarching story or not. Now, as I say that, there's also a thing that's more heavily implied in the part 2 of season 1, because we meet a lot of characters in that second half as well. But some of these characters are like one and done. They're introduced this episode and then they're taken out by the next episode. In the first half of the season, we got a lot of setup, and that setup was actually very consequential. Like, we got introduced to Shin. We got introduced to Lu. You get introduced to the idea of Slur and there being a villain behind this order and some of the characters from the order. Like, we meet a lot of different people, and those characters carry on throughout the second half of the season, but is actually the second half of the season where you meet some prisoners that are kind of there, and then before long, they're gone. You get to meet a handful of new characters as the season progresses, and some of these characters get taken out, and then some of these characters seem like they're going to be much, much more important moving forward into season 2. The biggest kudos about the way they landed the plane with Sakamoto is that they really led you directly into season 2, and you know exactly what to expect in that next season. And I think that has already been greenlit, and I'm actually quite happy about that. My hopes for the future in regards to the show is that I hope that they don't release this many episodes in parts again. And if they do decide to go that way, I really hope that the tone and the pace match up from part 1 to part 2. I don't feel like the pacing of it matched up quite well at all with part 1 and part 2 of season 1. I think specifically to the end of season 1, part 1, where you had like a bathhouse scene or episode, and then you also had like a casino gambling episodes that just really felt kind of boring, kind of like filler. Like, hey, where are we trying to get to? Because there's much greater things going on. And then in season 1, part 2, that second half of the season, it is very clearly streamlined towards where we're trying to get to. I like that way better. So I'm hoping if they move forward with a second season, as it appears they will, I'm hoping that you get a much more streamlined story in that first part and that second part, if they decide to do it that way. Or I'm hoping that they just release, let's say, all 10, 12 episodes, 15 episodes, just do all of it at once or weekly, but just keep it going. No big 3, 4, 5-month break in between the release of these episodes. I would much prefer that. Either drop it all or drop it all week to week. Don't you do week to week and then a break and then another. I don't like it. I didn't like it much at all. But the greater question here is, did you like it? Did you like Sakamoto Days? Did you like that release schedule? Did you like part one as much as you liked part two? Do you feel like this show is very deserving of a season two? As much as I may have sound like a hater, I do enjoy the show and I do hope that they do more, and I hope that it's released way more steadily moving forward. But those are my thoughts, and I'd love to know yours in the comment section. I appreciate you if you've watched thus far. And that's all we got for this one, y'all. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, and go watch something good.